Of the 4 non-SEC Power 5 champions, Baylor, Michigan, Utah, Pittsburgh from last year, which one do you think has the best chance to repeat as a conference champion in 2022? So again, to be clear who we're talking about here, as you see, Pitt won the ACC last year. You had Michigan in the Big Ten. All these were upsets, by the way. Baylor had the second to worst odds to win the Big 12, and they ended up pulling it off. And you had Utah win the Pac-12. Had to beat Oregon twice to do it, and they made quick work of them. Here are your preseason over-under win totals here. Pitt's over-under is 8.5. Michigan's is 9.5. Baylor's is 8, and Utah is 9. None of them, I don't think, none of them are preseason favorites to win their conference. Utah's right up there. Utah, in some weeks, they're like co-favorites or they're right below USC. Point is, Utah, odds-wise, they've got the best shot. That's according to odds makers. Right now, in this second, Utah and USC are plus 200, so they're co-favorites to win the Pac-12. I think they're right. I think odds makers are right here. I would give Utah, out of these 4 teams, I would give them the best chance to repeat as Pac-12 champ. In fact, if I had to pick, like at this very moment, which I don't, but if I had to pick right now, I think I would just randomly say Utah in the Pac-12. So that's not a wild concept at all for me. They have I think the 49th production rate return right now. None of them are like top 10 in terms of returning the most production. I just think Utah's team is the most tailor-made. They love what they have at quarterback. Like the lines of scrimmage haven't been decimated. Athletically, they're one of the best teams Kyle Whittingham will have had in there. And they've got everything lined up for them, because when you play a team like Oregon or you play a team like USC, how is your situation going to be any more opportune than both of them having new staffs? And you, on the other hand, have one of the most veteran staffs in the country. So I think Utah would be number 1. This is where I wrestled. The second team, I made Michigan. Michigan has probably got the highest power-rated team out of all of them. Like if I put Michigan and Utah on a neutral field, Michigan would be favored. But I also know they're in a conference with Ohio State, which is one of the top 2 teams, in my opinion, in terms of favorites to win the title in America this year. So Michigan's got 65% returning production. That's about 65th in the country, but quarterback is intact there. They also, Michigan's a team that has started to teeter a little bit on that conversation at least. Okay, maybe they're not there, the likes of which Alabama is, but maybe they're starting to teeter on that reload instead of rebuild philosophy. One of those programs that the model is so reliable that you don't even need to know the names. You just start to become familiar with the brand you're going to get from them every year. Now, the reason I'm hesitant there is because they won the Big Ten last year, but before that, they had not done that. So we're still kind of early on in the Jim Harbaugh reinventing himself phase. So we'll see. But I think they're the best of the 4. That's why they're so high here. They're the second team in this 4-team grouping. But it's tough to overcome Ohio State. They did it last year. They have to do it again. They'll be a double-digit underdog if the numbers hold in Columbus the last week of the regular season. The third team, I kind of flip-flopped here. The third team, I'm going to say it's Pitt. I originally was going to go Baylor, but I'm going to make it Pitt. They've got the 45th ranked returning production in the country. They're kind of all similar there. The reason why I ended up putting Pitt above Baylor is because Baylor's returning production is very bad. And more so than that, it's a tough stretch. But if you look at Pitt's schedule right here, you're going to have your attention, as is mine, attracted to, they start with West Virginia. Doesn't matter. It's not a conference game. They play Tennessee week 2. Doesn't matter. It's not a conference game. When you look at the conference, they don't play Clemson until maybe the ACC championship game. And I think they have a more workable path. Whereas Baylor, who I put 4th out of 4, even as I just praise Dave Aranda every day of the week on this show, Baylor, they have it's 122nd in the country returning production. They have the 4th best odds to win the Big 12. Really, the odds makers aren't that confident in them. They just remember what happened last year. But they go to Texas, they go to Oklahoma, to Texas Tech, to West Virginia, to Iowa State. It's a tough stretch. They got 5 road games there alone that I read off that are very, very difficult. They've got Churn at quarterback. They chose to have that. Gary Bohannon was back, and Dave Aranda chose to go in a different direction. Bohannon transferred. So I'm going to go in order: Utah, Michigan, Pitt, and Baylor. And Baylor doesn't really care because last year they had the second worst odds in the Big 12 and they still got it done anyway.